Hello everybody and welcome back to this beginner playthrough as Portugal. And as we kind of zoom out here and just look at the map, we can see the world is ravaged by war, and this is the interesting thing about the game. Like, just the different alliance networks. Again, some people will struggle to get an alliance and other people will get a bunch of alliances and they'll team up against their rivals and all kinds of things. And we can see that Novgorod is getting ravaged by all kinds of different sieges, right? These checkered lines means they're being sort of sieged down, and sort of the provinces are being occupied by other countries. So Muscovy's up here just ravaging Novgorod. We have the Ottomans are actually at war with somebody, and we can just go to the diplomatic map mode to see what's going on here, right? Looks like the Ottomans are at war with Byzantium and Wallachia. That's going to be a war that the Ottomans are going to easily win. We could see that Milan was at war with the Papal State, and Savoy, Milan, and the Papal State are all fighting, and Mantua actually is here. Mantua looks like they're not going to do so well. Actually, one thing we can do with our extra diplomats, I'm realizing, we're very close to getting that 150 with Castile. We want to do that. Let's actually butter up the Pope, right? Because we're a good Catholic, God-fearing nation. Let's butter up the Pope. France and England are at war. Castile and Aragon at war. It's literally a world at war. We have rebellion in Sweden right now. All kinds of crazy things going on. All kinds of crazy things going on. It's fun, and that's going to shape the world. That's going to make this a unique outcome, right? This war against Aragon and Castile, you could run this 10 times and it wouldn't happen just like this any other time, you know? Things are going to be different. The outcome of this war, what they take in the peace deal, what they force upon Aragon. I mean, what if they actually have Aragon release their claim on Naples? I mean, that could be insane. So we're just going to let the game run. We're basically kind of waiting. We're on speed 3, just letting it cruise. We're trying to get up to 150 with Castile. That'll give us a nice little mission completed. Next month that should happen. We're also building up on the Pope because why not? You know, why not? We can get more of this papal influence. We talked about this a little bit, right? Just a little bit, because we got a little bit of papal influence from an estate button press, right? There was an estate click over here for the clergy that gave us some send an emissary to the Pope, where it gave us a papal influence. So we just talked a little bit about how the papal influence can be used to gain stability, or to gain taxation modifiers and other good beneficial things, sort of momentary decisions that we can make here to sort of shore up different weaknesses in our country. If our economy is hurting, we can get the tax modifier. If our stability is hurting, we can get some stability. If we're sort of low on manpower, we can actually get the sort of the manpower recovery speed, so on and so forth, right? So, and one of the modifiers for this is our relationship with the Pope themselves. So buttering up the Papal State will increase that positive modifier down there to how much papal influence we get. So it's not a very complex system. It's just that basically we want the Pope to be happy. That makes sense, right? We're a Catholic nation living in Europe. We want the Pope to be happy, and we want the Pope to like us. So that's what we're working on. Looks like the Duke of Coimbra. Ooh, gain of free stability. Let's go. Let's go. We can read all the flavor text if we want, but basically these are choices, right? These are choices between good, in this case, good choice. We have good options here. Sometimes you make choices between the least of the two bad options, right? But these are both good. So trade efficiency and tax modifier, that's all good. But here's the thing, stability actually helps us, right? The more stable our country is, this actually will help us with our economy just by being more stable. And this could last for a long time. This trade modifier thing will eventually... Oh, it actually says as long as our ruler's alive. That's actually pretty good, because our ruler's likely to live for a long time, even though we do want him to die, because we have that really amazing heir that's ready to take over, that has just all these amazing natural talents and skills. And I'm almost tempted to actually see who our advisors are. Maybe we could actually afford an advisor. But I know for a fact we would not be affording an advisor if we were at war, right? If we were at war, we would not. By the way, guys, I am using spacebar to pause the game all the time when I'm doing really thinky things, just so we don't miss anything critical. We really want to make sure that we don't miss the ending of the war between Castile and Aragon. That's going to be a very important moment, because that's going to be when we need to declare war on Morocco, and we don't want Castile to declare war on Granada before that happens. Oh, we can actually get a trade efficiency guy. That's kind of interesting, because, so I'm just looking right here and just reading their little special abilities. This guy helps us with diplomatic relation. This guy helps us with improved relations. So it means that we just sort of keep people at buttered up. This is actually a really, really good stat too, but trade efficiency is nice because, well, we're making a lot of money from trade, right? We're making a good chunk of our income is coming from trade. So if we can increase that by a 10% modifier, that's not bad. That almost pays for himself, but that's not nearly as good as taxation guy, because the taxation guy definitely would be nice. Here we can see fort defense. That actually could be really good because we have some really important forts like Lisboa and Ceuta. And during war, it'd be nice if those forts were took longer for the enemy to siege these forts. We can also get a land force limit modifier. This is interesting because our land force limit actually got sort of truncated, right? Because of the autonomy that was increased in Ceuta. And we're paying, that'll get rid of the 0.32 over force limit modifier by increasing our force limit by 10%. That'll give us the ability to raise a couple more dudes as well without penalty, which is kind of nice. And it gives us more military power, which will get us closer to a military technology because we are trying to work up to this. It's saying it's going to still be about 7 years before we'll have enough points for that. It kind of gives you an estimate down below so you don't have to run the math yourself. It says that it'll take until June 1454 to have enough points to get this, but this is very good because this gives us land morale and this gives us military tactics. Very, very powerful to have this stuff. In fact, if we check on Morocco's, yeah, Morocco has a very poor military leader, right? We can just click on them. We can go to their diplomacy screen, get sort of a summary of their stat. How's their prestige? How's their own stability, right? How's their military level? That's going to be important to compare ours to them. We don't want to be behind them on military level because, again, those are very powerful benefits. So, and ideally, if we're ahead of them on military, we could do significant damage to them in battles. But their military skill is very low. Ours is also very low, but it's not quite that low, right? A 2 is better than a 1. A 2 is indeed better than a 1, but a 2 is still not great compared to our air. Holy cow, this guy's a 6. That's as good as it gets. So that's going to be exciting when that guy takes over, but that will be in a little bit. We are at 153 with Castile, so we have trustworthy allies. We have completed this mission. That gives us a little bit of diplomatic reputation, so that'll be good for potentially getting new alliances and things like that. In fact, I don't know, maybe we want to ally the Pope. Maybe we actually just straight up want to ally the Pope. They're close to wanting to ally us. The Papal State has too many diplomatic relations, but otherwise they're pretty close. We are going to be able to butter them up enough to get there. Because we're at 41 reasons for them to accept, 42 reasons for them to accept, and 49 reasons not to accept. But it's teetering a little bit there. There is a distance between borders. They have a neutral attitude towards us. So they don't hate us, they just don't really like us either. They don't really care that much about us. But the Pope could be a nice way to get a big relationship boost to really increase the amount of papal influence we can be gaining per year. And I mean, just allying the Pope's just not a bad thing, you know? Allying the Pope is just not a bad thing. Of course, they are in a bad war right now, but I don't think they're the aggressor. No, they're just defending an ally. So if we ally the Pope, we're not going to get like called into that mess or anything like that. I think for the most part, England loves us enough. We can pull back our dude there. And what we could be doing is we could be building a claim on Tlemcen and potentially, actually, what is Tlemcen has like no allies. This could be interesting. So we should actually be building a spy network in Tlemcen as quickly as possible. The other thing is too, we could be building a spy network on one of the nations we're going to go to war against, because there is some benefits. If you have a large spy network on someone and you're at war with them, you get some benefits to your ability to siege. It's kind of like represents this idea of like inside people working for you to sort of sabotage the enemy. So we could actually try to build up a spy network in Morocco or something, but I think for the most part, we're not going to worry. We're going to keep this guy sort of more on hand, more ready to go and on hand. Is there anyone that we can butter up? We could butter up France just because France is powerful. They're winning their war right now. We could just keep them happy. That could be a bad thing, right? So I apologize, guys, if we're going a little faster with the button clicks. I just click on France. Any of their provinces will do. Go to diplomacy. And then I'm just kind of used to finding the improve relationship button right here in the relationship actions, right? This is something we're going to do hundreds of times. So eventually it really does just become sort of like a a routine, a habit. What am I trying to say? An instinct, a muscle memory. It's a muscle memory to be able to sort of go in there and start improving relations with a nation. But I do need to not take it for granted that we are, of course, teaching this game, right? We're not just playing it, we're teaching it to new players and stuff. We actually have some rebellion. We have some Moroccan rebellion right now. That is interesting. Here's the super interesting thing. If Morocco actually attacks these rebels, looks like they might be trying to did they actually get beat up in war? What's going on here? What is going on here? If Morocco actually loses dudes in a fight against these guys, then this could make them quite vulnerable, or it could actually make it so that their vassals are more likely to not want to support them. It looks like they did actually have an engagement with rebels and they lost. They've lost only a small amount of their troops, but it looked like that was a very scary rebel stack. So it's going to be interesting to see. That's 15,000 men rebelling against the Moroccan government. Basically, these are pretender rebels. It'll be very interesting to see. It'll be very interesting to see if that really weakens Morocco or not. Okay, so after we got trustworthy allies, we need to get Tangiers, right? That's the mission we're working on there. And then we also need to acquire subjects. Okay, so if we acquire some vassals, you know how Aragon has a personal union in Naples, and Morocco has these subjects down here? We can actually try to acquire our own subjects. And that'll be something that we can do to complete this mission. So we can hit some buttons here. Ooh, we can get some more stability. Let's go. We can get some money. See, this is a little bit more of a complicated choice. This also sort of ties in the estates, right? It's mentioning the nobility. It's mentioning the clergy. This will make the clergy happy. This will give us even more. We'll be +3 stability. That is an insane amount of stability. This is like a literal nation stability that increases our economy, increases our trade, just allows our nation to flourish. That's really, really good. That's really, really good. Alternatively, we could just get a big sack of cash, but it reduces our national tax modifier in the long run. So it's like cash up front, reduced money long term. Get some yearly papal influence, reduce the... Yeah, I don't like this option as much. I like the stability here. I like making the clergy a little bit happy and getting the stability boosted up there. You know what we could do is we could actually try to revoke the clergy from this province, which is going to make them a little bit unhappy. It's actually going to make them significantly unhappy. But I want to move them off of here because I want to give this to the burghers. We might actually swap-a-roo these guys here. So this is going to make their loyalty drop by 30. That is going to negatively affect the tax modifier. That is going to negatively affect our ability to make taxes. But this is an important trade center. And I don't want the clergy to be in charge of it. I want the merchant guilds to be in charge of it. So that's going to make them upset. That is going to make them upset, but that's okay. So these are now negative modifiers, but that is okay. These things will trend back the right direction. This is like kind of scary looking, but for the most part, we'll be okay. Let's give this to the merchant guilds here. We're just going to make them super happy, which is awesome. In fact, actually, we could give them a generous donation. 32 ducats? What the heck? You know what? Clergy, you've done enough for us. Actually, no, let's hold on. What happens if we actually pull... So now we've gotten the influence up significantly, right? Because we gave them Porto, their influence has gone up significantly. We can actually grant an admiralship for free and just see what we roll. That's a 40 tradition admiral. I think we talked about this a little bit, right? With our leaders here. Is that when you roll these, it's based on your army tradition. Our army tradition right now is really low. It's only 7. It's 25 for Navy. It's only 7 for land, for the army. If we roll one of these guys, it's going to be very weak because it's going to be what we call a 7 army tradition general, right? If we actually grab a general from here, it'll be a baseline 40 tradition, which is really good, right? That can roll much higher. Here we can actually get a free admiralship. That's also more importantly going to increase their influence so that we can actually get these numbers here will increase because their influence will increase. There we go. So we're at 75. We're getting some more development cost reduction. We're getting some trade efficiency reduction. All very good stuff. Now we are getting a banner now saying that we have too many military leaders. So let's look at this admiral and see how they rolled. Ooh, that's a good guy. That's a good guy. A 5-3-2, but we have this explorer, and I think to be fair, to be completely honest with you, I think the explorer is more valuable because we can't train explorers. He's a special historical figure. He is a special historical figure, so I think we're going to get rid of... Alfonso's pretty good. Maybe we could get rid of our general. I don't know. I think we're going to keep both. It's hard to say. You know, what the heck? I'm going to keep our admiral. I'm going to get rid of our land general because we have our king. Our king will lead the battles, will lead the armies, and hopefully die in battle. Because that's what we're hoping, right? Okay, so I actually want to assign this admiral to work in the trade fleet, and this will actually help increase the efficiency of these ships as they protect trade, which makes sense, right? If an admiral is sort of in charge of this, that'll sort of let us make a little bit more money off of the protecting trade, just sort of the efficiency there, even during peace, right? And then naturally, if we actually did naval battles, then that would help in that situation too. But we were doing quite a bit of little efficiency here with the estates, right? We have quite a bit of happiness with these guys. We can spend that to demand diplomatic support. That'll increase this. That'll get us closer to potentially getting a diplomatic technology, which is really, really good, right? That's 150 points. That's huge. Right now, we're only getting 5 per month. So that is literally, 30 months worth of diplomatic power. That's really, really good. That's definitely an option. Alternatively, we could just pull them out of here and then reapply the clergy to there to make the clergy a little bit more happy. Because I don't think we really need the merchant guilds to be controlling this random province. We want them to control the trade centers particularly. We'll have them control Tangiers once we take it. But we don't own Tangiers yet. They're controlling Porto. They can't control Lisboa because the capital can never be controlled by your estates. But yeah, this province right here, I'd rather this just either be a neutral province. I'd rather that either be neutral or controlled by the clergy. And if we give this to the clergy, for example, that'll make them quite a bit happier. That'll make them quite a bit happier. So I think we do that. We give it to the clergy. And for the most part at this point, we can see that, yeah, burghers are upset. Clergy's upset. It's one of those kind of what the heck things, I'm going to do this just to raise influence. I'm just trying to get them to 84 because we are going to pay a little bit of ducats here, make them happy, and I want that full 20% tax modifier. I think you need to be over 80% to get the full 20, I think. Or maybe it's 75. And either way, we were at 74. It's either 75 or 80. Yeah, so unfortunately, we're now losing a trade modifier. So our trade's definitely gone down. There's no question about it. It's gone down. There you go. It's just updated. And that's because the burghers are upset. But they're only going to be upset for a few months, right? That's going to trend back up towards 50. And if we hover over this, it should tell us it'll change towards 50% every month, 0.1%. So every year we get about 1% towards. So in 4 years, they're going to be happy, right? Because 40 is the magic number. 40 is the magic number and they won't be upset. Actually says we can build we have enough money to actually build buildings. It's warning us that we can build buildings. But the only buildings we can build are castles. If I click on this, it'll open up the build tab, or we could just go to the production interface and go down to buildings and we could build castles. We don't really need castles. We have a good one in our capital and we have a good one in Ceuta. Those are the only ones that we need. We do not need other castles. It looks like these rebels are still doing their thing. They're still doing their thing, but it looks like Tangiers, they are maintaining their fort now. They've raised the maintenance on their fort. They're paying for this fort again. They're paying for that again, which is kind of a bummer, but it also kind of makes sense that they're doing that. The war against Castile and Aragon is still raging, and actually the war against England and France is still raging. That'll be ending soon, I suspect, as France is definitely winning that war in a big way. In a big, big way. So it'll be interesting to see what France takes in that peace deal. How are the vassals feeling now that Morocco's getting completely sieged down by rebels? Actually, the vassals are feeling very loyal. That is 18,000 dudes sitting on Fez. That is insane. If they actually siege down the capital of Fez, this is crazy. Because what this means is we'll be able to attack into Fez and be the defender in the mountains as long as the rebels control this. Because the Moroccans are going to try to re-siege their capital, right? Naturally. But because this is a mountain province and they're re-sieging it, they'll be sandwiched between the siege controlled by rebels and us attacking them while they're trying to siege the province. And we'll actually be the defenders, but this is in the mountains. The mountains is a -2 die roll for attackers. It's a huge attacking penalty. And of course, like I said, if they're sieging the province, they become the attackers by default. I'm a doofus, by the way. There's nowhere to fabricate claims on Tlemcen. We don't have a sea tile that is connected to Tlemcen. Whoops. We just built up a spy network with Tlemcen, but we just learned a valuable lesson, right? Firsthand. Is I do not have a connection to this land. This is all tied to the Gulf of Almeria. We don't have any provinces that are connected to the Gulf of Almeria. we actually kind of need to take this. That means that this province right here is incredibly important in the war, because that'll get us a connection here. Or we need to take this province, right? We need one of these two provinces. That'll give us the Gulf of Almeria to be able to sort of further conquests along this region of North Africa here. So let's actually go back to just building this supply network on Morocco here. France, we're buttering up France. We're at 59 with them. Looking not too bad. The war over here should be ending soon. It looks like for the most part. Oh, is that mountains? That's mountains. That's a mountain fort. That's a deadly battle right there. Lots of men are dying here. Lots of men are dying. Let's click on this. Let's watch this. So you can see a lot of things that we don't understand here. That is, see this morale? When that goes to 0, you've lost. Castile's has a little sliver right there, and Aragon's at basically 0. Holy cow, that was close. So it looks like Castile and Navarra did win that, but man, they took heavy losses there. Both sides took heavy losses because Castile, and again, they were sieging a mountain fort. That means that when Aragon attacked into them, they were actually the defender. It's a little bit of a nuanced thing. Usually, you know, attacking, defending makes sense, right? You're either standing somewhere and getting attacked, or you're not. But forts are special. Forts force you. Forts always make the controller of the province. Always make the controller of the province the defender. No matter what, even if they're attacking into those people, they're sieging it. How's the progress on this fort going? 7%. That's really good. Valencia's fallen. So Valencia's fallen here. And this war is definitely heavily in. In fact, Navarra might actually take a land. Navarra doesn't have any claims here, but it'll be interesting to see exactly what Navarra goes for here. If they get a big, giant sort of peace deal here. Navarra's definitely winning this, though. In a big, big way. 53 war score. Oof. We haven't talked about actual... We haven't actually talked about... how wars are done, because we haven't been to war. But there's war just happening all around us. It's happening all around us. It's going to be a long time before those rebels actually make progress there. You know, I'm going to speed up a little bit, and I think we're going to take a quick pause. I wanted to... Oh, it did fall. It did fall. Navarra got this capital... not capital, but castle fort. This mountain castle. They sieged it. And the rest of Aragon is going to fall quickly. Very quickly. Okay, guys. With the spawning of the Renaissance, I think we are going to end this episode here. We will definitely talk a little bit about the Renaissance when we get started in the next episode. Thanks, everybody, for watching. It looks like our moment to attack Morocco and call in Castile is going to be soon, as the war between Castile and Aragon should be ending soon, as they are sort of full sieging Aragon's most valuable, precious provinces. So we'll see how that goes. Thanks, everybody, for watching. I will see you guys in the next episode. And hopefully then we'll get our opportunity to declare war on the heathens. Have a good one, guys.